Cary Grant was at the peak of Hollywood stardom. He had charm, success, and millions of adoring fans. But suddenly, he walked away from it all. The cameras stopped rolling, and Grant vanished from the silver screen. What made him leave? Was it the changing landscape of Hollywood? A secret he was hiding? The answer lies in the story he kept close to his heart. Archibald Leach, later known as Cary Grant, had a childhood far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. Born in a small house in Bristol on January 18, 1904, his early days were filled with simplicity and struggle. His father, Elias, worked long hours as a tailor's presser, while his mother, Elsie, was a seamstress. They were a working-class family trying to make ends meet. But even in those modest beginnings, there were cracks in the surface. When Archie was just a young boy, tragedy struck the family. His older brother, John, died before reaching his first birthday. This loss devastated his mother. She became withdrawn, consumed by guilt, and was never the same. Young Archie could sense the sadness in the house, even if he didn't fully understand it. One day, when Archie was 9, he came home from school to find his mother gone. His father told him she had gone to a seaside resort to rest. Archie accepted this without question, but the truth was far darker. His father had committed her to a mental institution without telling him. For years, Archie believed his mother was dead. It was a secret that would haunt him for decades. He would later reflect, "A sadness of spirit affected everything I did. I always felt that my mother rejected me." At just 14, Archie Leach decided he couldn't stay in Bristol any longer. His home life was too heavy, and the pain of losing his mother still haunted him. On March 13, 1918, the anniversary of the day she disappeared, he made a bold move. He got himself expelled from school. He snuck into the girls' lavatory, knowing it would cause enough trouble to get him thrown out. It wasn't just rebellion. Archie had a plan. He wanted to leave, to start over, and this was the only way he knew how. 3 days later, Archie joined Bob Pender's troupe of comedians. The group performed slapstick comedy and acrobatics, and Archie felt right at home. To join them, though, he had to lie about his age. He forged his father's signature on the contract, knowing full well his dad wouldn't approve. It was a risky move, but Archie didn't care. He was finally doing something that made him feel alive. The troupe became Archie's new family. He learned to tumble, act, and make people laugh. They toured around England, performing in crowded halls and small-town theaters. It wasn't glamorous, but it was exciting. Then, in 1920, something incredible happened. The Pender troupe was invited to perform in America. Archie, just 16 years old, was one of the lucky ones chosen to go. The ship to America felt like another world. On board were Hollywood royalty, Douglas Fairbanks Sr. and Mary Pickford. Archie was starstruck. He watched them, imagining himself living a life like theirs someday. Fairbanks noticed Archie, too, calling him an affable and athletic young man. Archie didn't know it yet, but he was on his way to becoming someone those stars would someday admire. When they arrived in New York, Archie performed at the Hippodrome, one of the largest stages in the world. The show was a massive production with over 1,000 performers. For Archie, it was thrilling, but the excitement didn't last forever. After the tour ended, life in America wasn't easy. Archie had no money and no home to return to in England. He had to make his own way. For the next few years, Archie took whatever jobs he could find. He worked as a stilt walker at Coney Island, towering above crowds for hours in the summer heat. He also acted as a plant in mind-reading acts, pretending to be a random audience member while feeding answers to the performer. It was exhausting and far from glamorous, but Archie was determined to survive. Through it all, he never lost his charm or his dream. He kept performing with small vaudeville troupes, learning how to command a stage and hold an audience's attention. Each gig brought him a step closer to something bigger, even if he couldn't see it yet. What happened next would rewrite his life forever. In 1931, Archibald Leach stood on the edge of a new life. His performance in the Broadway musical Nicky had caught the attention of Paramount Pictures. They saw potential in the tall, charming young man, even if his name didn't seem quite right for the silver screen. On December 7, 1931, at 27 years old, he signed a 5-year contract with the studio. They offered him $450 a week, a fortune during the Great Depression. But there was one condition: his name had to change. After some debate, they settled on Cary Grant. The name was smooth, elegant, and perfect for Hollywood. Grant's first film was This Is the Night in 1932. He played an Olympic javelin thrower, a role he found underwhelming. Yet, the critics saw something special. One called him a potential femme rave, a phrase that hinted at his future stardom. That praise gave Grant the push he needed to keep going. By the end of that year, he had appeared in 7 more films, working with stars like Marlene Dietrich in Blonde Venus and Gary Cooper in The Devil and the Deep. He was fast becoming a rising star, showing that he could handle drama, romance, and everything in between. In 1937, everything changed. Grant starred in The Awful Truth, a screwball comedy directed by Leo McCarey. At first, McCarey didn't think much of him, but that changed once filming began. McCarey encouraged Grant to improvise, drawing on his vaudeville roots. Grant's wit and charm shone through, creating a character that audiences adored. The film was a hit, and suddenly, Cary Grant was a household name. A year later, in 1938, he teamed up with Katharine Hepburn for Bringing Up Baby. The movie told the wild tale of a paleontologist, a free-spirited woman, and a mischievous leopard. It wasn't a success at first. The film lost $350,000, a hefty sum at the time. But over the years, it gained a reputation as one of the greatest comedies ever made. Director Howard Hawks had told Grant to channel the goofy charm of silent film star Harold Lloyd. Grant did just that, crafting a performance that blended humor with a lovable awkwardness. Around this time, Grant made a bold decision. Tired of being boxed in by studio contracts, he became one of the first actors in Hollywood to go freelance. This move allowed him to choose his own projects, working with studios like RKO and Columbia Pictures on his own terms. It was a daring choice, but one that gave him the freedom to shape his career. Cary Grant's partnership with Alfred Hitchcock began in 1941 with Suspicion. This was no ordinary role for Grant. He played Johnny Aisgarth, a man whose charm hid a dark and possibly dangerous side. The character left audiences guessing, is he a loving husband or a cold-blooded killer? This was a new challenge for Grant, who had built a career as a dashing leading man. Now, he was adding a layer of complexity, showing a hint of menace behind the charm. But this was just the beginning. Their collaboration truly shone in Notorious, 1946. Grant played T.R. Devlin, a secret agent caught in a painful dilemma. He loved Ingrid Bergman's character, but his job forced him to send her into harm's way. The tension was electrifying. One scene stood out, a kiss so daring it defied censorship rules. Hitchcock had the actors break apart every few seconds, keeping the kiss technically legal while making it unforgettable. Grant's performance showed raw emotion and vulnerability, proving he wasn't just a charming face. By the time they worked on North by Northwest in 1959, their creative synergy was unmatched. Grant became Roger Thornhill, a suave but unlucky ad executive mistaken for a spy. He dodged a crop duster in one of the most iconic action scenes in film history. Grant was as smooth as ever, balancing danger with humor. Many believe this film laid the groundwork for the James Bond series, and it's easy to see why. Grant was the perfect mix of wit, style, and action. Even beyond Hitchcock's films, Grant kept delivering unforgettable performances. In his Girl Friday, 1940, he was Walter Burns, a quick-talking newspaper editor who could manipulate anyone. His banter with Rosalind Russell made the movie a comedy classic, filled with lightning-fast dialogue and sharp humor. Later that same year, he starred in The Philadelphia Story, alongside Katharine Hepburn and James Stewart. As C.K. Dexter Haven, he played a man trying to win back his ex-wife. Grant's charm was irresistible, making him the heart of this romantic comedy. The film earned 6 Academy Award nominations and solidified his reputation as the ultimate leading man. Grant could also surprise audiences with his comedic range. In Arsenic and Old Lace, 1944, he played Mortimer Brewster, a man dealing with his sweet but murderous aunts. The role demanded frantic energy and slapstick humor, and Grant delivered it all with ease. Audiences loved seeing him lose his cool in such a ridiculous situation. Cary Grant's decision to leave Hollywood was not made lightly. By the early 1960s, the industry was changing fast. The polished, glamorous world he had ruled was fading. Gritty, rebellious films were taking over. Actors like Dustin Hoffman and Jack Nicholson, with their raw, unpolished styles, were the new faces of cinema. Grant, known for his elegance and charm, saw the shift coming. He once said, "I've been tap dancing for 30 years, and I can't dance anymore." It wasn't just about aging. He felt his style of acting was no longer what audiences wanted. The new Hollywood had less room for someone like him. Grant didn't want to be left behind. He wanted to step away while he was still on top. Then something else happened that changed everything. On February 26, 1966, Grant became a father for the first time. His daughter, Jennifer, was born when he was 62 years old. Suddenly, acting didn't seem so important anymore. "I want to be with her all I can," he said. It wasn't just words. Grant threw himself into fatherhood in a way few expected. Jennifer became the center of his world. He taught her life skills, even having her sign her own tax returns as a child. This wasn't just about money. It was about independence. Grant had experienced a painful, confusing childhood. His mother disappeared when he was just 9. He never wanted Jennifer to feel that same kind of loss. At the same time, the types of roles being offered to him felt wrong. The industry now wanted him to play grandfathers or comic bums. He couldn't imagine himself in those parts. He said, "I could have gone on, but I discovered more important things in life." It was clear that his priorities had shifted. Family mattered more than fame. Grant's final film, Walk, Don't Run, came out in 1966. It was a gentle comedy set during the Tokyo Olympics. In it, he played a businessman who helps 2 young people fall in love. The role suited him. He wasn't the romantic lead anymore, but a mentor, a matchmaker. It mirrored his own transition in life. The film did well at the box office, earning $7.5 million. Critics gave it mixed reviews, but audiences still loved seeing Grant on screen. He left the industry on his own terms, still commanding attention and respect. And yet, stepping away wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something new. He devoted himself to raising Jennifer, becoming a present and loving father. Cary Grant's love life was as dramatic as the roles he played on screen. His first marriage, to actress Virginia Cherrill, started with passion, but quickly spiraled into chaos. The couple fought constantly. Grant, known for his charm in public, reportedly became cold and critical at home. Cherrill accused him of mocking her acting and drinking too much. One fight ended with Cherrill running to her mother's house, and shortly after, she filed for divorce. Their union lasted only 7 months, leaving Grant bitter and determined to learn from the experience. But what happened in his next marriage was something no one expected. In 1942, Grant married Barbara Hutton, one of the richest women in the world. The press dubbed them Cash and Carey. But Grant shocked everyone by refusing to take a cent of her fortune. He even signed a prenuptial agreement to prove it. Their marriage, however, was far from perfect. Hutton's extravagant lifestyle clashed with Grant's frugality. He hated waste and even complained when she bought 2 newspapers instead of sharing one. After 3 years, the couple parted ways amicably. Grant later admitted he bore much of the blame for their breakup, but then he married again, and this time things seemed different. Grant's 3rd marriage, to actress Betsy Drake, was his longest. Betsy encouraged him to read more, explore deeper ideas, and think beyond Hollywood. Grant credited her with helping him grow as a person. For 14 years, they stayed together, weathering the highs and lows of fame. But even this relationship couldn't last. They divorced in 1962, marking the end of Grant's longest attempt at stability. And as his marriages ended, rumors about his personal life grew louder. The whispers about Grant's sexuality began in the 1930s, when he shared a home with actor Randolph Scott. Their house, playfully called Bachelor Hall, became the center of speculation. Some saw their close friendship as unusual. Others, including modern commentators, believed they were simply ahead of their time in rejecting societal norms. The gossip flared up again in the 1980s when comedian Chevy Chase joked about Grant's sexuality on live television. Grant, furious, sued Chase and demanded an apology. To this day, Grant's daughter Jennifer firmly denies the rumors, calling them baseless and rooted in misunderstanding. But Grant's private life held even more surprises. In the late 1950s, he began experimenting with LSD. Under the guidance of a doctor, Grant used the drug to confront the pain of his past. He described the experience as freeing, saying it helped him unlock memories and heal old wounds. For years, he took carefully supervised doses, exploring his subconscious. He credited LSD with helping him forgive his parents, particularly his father for sending his mother away when he was a child. Grant became an outspoken advocate, sharing his positive experiences openly, which shocked the public. Even after his death, he left $10,000 to the doctor who had guided him through the sessions. After stepping away from acting in 1966, Cary Grant embraced a new chapter, one that few Hollywood legends dared to explore. Instead of staying in the spotlight, he dived into business. In 1968, he joined the board of Fabergé, a world-famous cosmetics company. This wasn't a vanity project. Grant took the role seriously, attending meetings, traveling globally, and using his star power to elevate the brand. But for him, it wasn't just about profits. One perk of the job, access to a private jet, became his lifeline to his daughter, Jennifer. Whenever Jennifer's mother, Diane Cannon, was filming somewhere, Grant would hop on the plane to spend time with his little girl. Even as a businessman, family came first for Grant. But just when it seemed he'd left Hollywood behind forever, he found a new way to connect with his fans. In the 1980s, Grant returned to the stage, but not as an actor. He created A Conversation with Cary Grant, a one-man show that toured across America. The concept was simple, but brilliant. Grant would walk on stage, answer audience questions, and share behind-the-scenes stories from his career. His entrance was a showstopper. A reel of his iconic movie moments would play on the big screen, and as the audience watched, Grant would step out, perfectly in sync with his larger-than-life image. The crowd always erupted into cheers. He talked about everything, working with Mae West, taking direction from Alfred Hitchcock, and even the origin of the famous "Judy, Judy, Judy" line that wasn't his, but became tied to him. No recordings of these shows exist today, as Grant insisted they remain intimate experiences. Fans who attended often described it as magical. In 1970, he received an honorary Oscar, a rare moment of recognition for a man who had never won a competitive Academy Award. Frank Sinatra, a close friend, presented the award to him. Grant's acceptance speech was humble and heartfelt. He thanked the writers and directors who shaped his career, from Hitchcock to Hawks, and expressed excitement about the future of film. In 1999, Cary Grant received one of the greatest honors any actor could dream of. The American Film Institute named him the second greatest male star of classic American cinema, right behind Humphrey Bogart. It was a title that celebrated everything he had given to Hollywood and the world. Over 1,800 film artists, critics, and historians voted on the list, considering legends who had shaped cinema before 1950 or left behind a complete body of work. Grant stood tall among the best, even surpassing icons like James Stewart and Marlon Brando. This recognition wasn't just about the number of movies he made, it was about the magic he brought to every role. His name had become a synonym for charm, sophistication, and timeless appeal. Films like His Girl Friday, Notorious, and An Affair to Remember were not just movies. They were classics that audiences still loved decades later. Each film proved Grant wasn't just an actor. He was an icon. What made this honor even more astonishing was that Grant never won a competitive Academy Award. Twice he was nominated, for Penny Serenade in 1941 and None But the Lonely Heart in 1944. Twice he went home empty-handed. It became one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. How could someone so beloved, so undeniably talented, never hold an Oscar for his performances? But maybe that only added to his mystique, making him a legend who didn't need golden statues to shine. Grant's ranking wasn't just about popularity. It reflected his ability to master any genre. He made people laugh in screwball comedies, stole hearts in romantic dramas, and kept audiences on the edge of their seats in suspense thrillers. His versatility was unmatched, and it's why he remained relevant, admired, and loved long after he left the screen. But even as the world celebrated him in 1999, the man who had defined elegance and grace had been gone for over a decade. His absence was felt deeply, especially by those who still watched his films, imagining him stepping through the door with that effortless charm. Yet his ranking on the AFI list wasn't just a tribute to his talent. It was a reminder that Cary Grant's legacy wasn't tied to any one era. He had become timeless.